We are still waiting for the Season 11 final patch notes. In the meantime, I had some spare time, so I let my imagination run wild. Spoiler alert, in this video, everything is pure fantasy, pure speculation. I just redesigned the Necromancer and imagined how it would feel like if we would have an actual, fun, Shadowblight oriented Necromancer. So let's begin. What's up everyone, Skulm here. In today's video we're going to talk about Shadowmist, which would be Shadowblight Infinimist version 2. Now, this was a super popular Necromancer build back in the day, especially when clearing the Abattoir of Zir, because Necromancer suffered from lack of survivability and lack of damage. Infinimist at that time was able to use Blood Mist as frequently as possible to stay alive against the Bloodseekers, which would pop out at the end of the Abattoir of Zir, and they were extremely deadly for the Necromancer class in general. So, this build that I have redesigned, by the way, in this video, I am not conveying any type of negativity. I am not trying to say that the developers are doing a bad job. I am not trying to say that the developers are incompetent. I am not trying to say that I am not happy as, well, I'm kind of not happy with the things as they are, especially, anyway, this is not a negative video, okay? This is pure imaginative fantasy speculation video. If I had some sort of power, I would make this type of Necromancer. There will be 2 more videos that I make. They will cover other fantasy builds. Now, this one mainly focuses on 2 things. Shadowblight is the main source of damage. I'm not going to explain how Shadowblight works. This is our main source of damage. And in this build, we are going to imagine that Blood Mist actually has a darkness tag. Also, the third characteristic of this build is we are gonna have Ebonpiercer's unique effect, which says Blight also shoots 4 smaller projectiles that pierce enemies and deal X corrupting damage over 3 seconds. Now, the fact that Blight also shoots out 4 smaller projectiles help a lot for triggering Shadowblight. This is not the best way to trigger Shadowblight. Obviously, Soul Rift and other tech, especially for Season 11, the Unmaker version, which lags and destroys the entire server, is like one of the best ways to proc Shadowblight, but that is... Anyway, I'm not going to talk about anything negative. This build makes Blood Mist become a sort of damaging ability that is the best way to proc Shadowblight. So imagine, for example, that you have Dreadful Blood Mist basically becoming Ebonpiercer's unique effect. When you select this upgrade, Blood Mist gains a darkness tag, so it becomes a shadow ability, a shadow spell, so you can comfortably put Blood Mist into your bars. So finally, when we make Blood Mist become a darkness ability, it becomes synergized with Reaper's Pursuit, passive. So Reaper's Pursuit says, for each darkness skill on your action bar, gain 34% additive increased movement speed and 34% X more damage. Now, in most of the shadow builds, the main problem is, right now, as of now, Blood Mist is not a darkness ability. So the fact that you have to put Blood Mist into your bars makes you lose damage, especially when you are running an item like Ebonpiercer that provides further ranks to Reaper's Pursuit. So this is a huge damage loss when you use Blood Mist. So the highest Necromancer builds that want to push the pits suffer from lack of Unstoppable. Now, there are other ways to take care of it, but you lose damage. So why not have good amount of Unstoppable with Blood Mist? Why not have good amount of survivability with Blood Mist? And why not have all the damage in the world with Blood Mist? Now, the fact that I call this fantasy build Shadowmist version 2 is because it synergizes really well with Shadowblight and Blood Mist. And Blood Mist's upgrade, when it becomes the Ebonpiercer's unique effect, makes Blight shoot out projectiles. So basically, when you press Blood Mist, you have to imagine when you press Blood Mist, that Blood Mist actually casts out automatically the Blight. One of the worst problems right now with Blood Mist is when we are in Blood Mist, we cannot cast anything. We have to sit down and wait for the ability to actually finish its duration. It doesn't do anything. If you pay attention, Blood Mist actually does some ticking damage when you're actually sitting in it. For example, I'm gonna cast it now. You're gonna see some ticking damage. Look, that's a ticking damage from Blood Mist. Why not make this an automatic cast of Blight, like Ebonpiercer? You see this? This is gonna make Shadowblight proc left and right. So it is gonna actually enable Blood Mist to become one of the most damaging abilities, while also giving you all the benefits of Reaper's Pursuit passive, as I have touched previously. Reaper's Pursuit passive becomes a super viable option now, because you can put Blood Mist on your action bar because it became a darkness skill. Remember, we changed this upgrade. We basically gave this upgrade the properties of Ebonpiercer, you know. So Blood Mist suddenly becomes a basically Blight Nova type of ability, which throughout its duration it shoots out blights. And when it shoots out blights, it's gonna trigger Shadowblight left and right. You would want to sit in your Blood Mist as much as possible. This changes the entire dynamic of the build, because then you can actually focus on more consistency of getting your Blood Mist back in cooldown, getting your other properties and other affixes to set up, focusing on more damage, and actually taking care of your survivability by using Blood Mist. Again, you would be able to do so much damage with this tech, and you would be able to gain insane amount of quality of life abilities, unstoppable, survivability, tankiness, mobility. You would have a lot of things that you would look forward to playing, to have fun with the game. And I think this is again a pure imaginative video, and I think this is the direction we should be focusing on. I'm gonna briefly talk about the Unmaker build that has made quite an appearance during Season 11 PTR. We do not have the final patch notes yet, but from my own testing, I have cleared Tower 100 with it and above. I was on Tower 102, I cleared, and it can lag servers, it can break servers, and putting together that kind of build takes a lot of work. Now, some people may like it, huge respect to them. I am not trying to kill a build, I am not trying to bury a build. My understanding of fun comes from quality of life changes that brings consistency and controllable player power, rather than breaking the server and then making weird interactions between items and game. That has its own taste. Again, huge respect. It's just my preference would be to focus on these type of archetype builds. And again, it's a super easy change. I think Blizzard can afford to do this. I am not, again, trying to pressure anyone. I'm not trying to say this is just my fantasy video, just my imagination to share with you guys, since we have some time until Season 11, and you know, the game is getting a bit of stale, obviously. Now, in the following two videos, we are going to talk about making Bone Spirits, some sort of summon ability, and I'm also going to talk about some other surprise Necromancer build that I'm still imagining. But subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of this kind of content. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.